Welcome to We Are Women, Unapologetically, the podcast that talks about the good, bad, ugly, and awesome. Careers, life transitions, confidence, and everything in between. Because shift happens, but you don't have to do it alone.
According to McKinsey's latest research, 89% of successful career pivots rely on transferable skills, not complete reinventions. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. What are your transferable skills and how can you utilize them in your career pivot? My name is Jessica Cumming and welcome to We Are Women Unapologetically. This episode is for anyone who has ever looked at a job description and thought, I've done that, but just not using the right words. So if you've ever questioned if your experience translates or how to look at making your experience translate, this is the episode for you. Because here's the truth. You are not starting from scratch. You've already done these things. You have the experience. We just need to look at reframing them. So let's dive in and do it together. A little bit of real talk here. I once thought that my ability to lead global teams, have workshops and trainings wouldn't really help me outside of the technology industry. I had done it for one company for a very long time and I was wonderful at it. But how would that translate? And to be honest with you, all of those skills transferred, and it's what has made my coaching, speaking, and podcast business successful. I already had the skills. I just needed to learn how to translate them. And honestly, they turned out to be the backbone of my business. It is the very reason that executives trust me to help them with their own transitions. Because communication, leadership, and the ability to drive change is not specific to one industry. It's also not specific to one person. All of these translate over. These are all soft skills necessary in order to be successful. I want to talk about what is the distinction between soft skills and hard skills, because they're very different, but both very useful. And quite honestly, a lot of times there are things that you do so naturally, you don't even realize what they are. So your hard skills, they are going to be teachable. It could be Excel, project management tools, data analytics, coding. And then you have your soft skills, but really they're not soft. And I like to refer to them as power skills. If you've ever had to navigate a tense stakeholder meeting, facilitate cross-functional teams that are not communicating properly, or been in leadership or had to look at problem solving, you understand that there's nothing soft about them. They are hardcore. And quite honestly, they are in more demand than ever, and they are going to continue to be. In McKinsey's 2024 Global Skills Report, they cited that 89% of executives now cite soft skills as a top hiring factor. That is up from 67% just a few years ago. And the World Economics Forum of Future Job Reports states that in 2026, analytical thinking, communication, and emotional intelligence are going to be the top required skills. And quite frankly, across all industries. So why do transferable skills matter and why right now? We are in a time that economists are calling the Great Reshuffle. The pandemic opened up a whole talent pool globally that wasn't necessarily there before. And AI, it is changing the way that we do business, whether you're on board with it or not. As a matter of fact, Goldman Sachs said that by the end of 2025, AI will be assisting in nearly 46% of administrative tasks. I'm going to repeat that. So if you were multitasking, come back to me. Goldman Sachs said by the end of 2025, AI will be assisting in 46% of administrative tasks. Now, I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm here to be real with you and help you be prepared, to help you hone in on what your skills really are. Because there's a lot that AI can do, but there's a lot that it cannot do, and that's where you come in. So your ability to adapt, lead, and communicate They're not just nice to haves, they are essential. But here's what should give you some little vote of confidence. 78% of professionals think that they are going to have to completely be retrained. But the reality is, 65% of the skills you already have are directly transferable to adjacent roles. So, what does this really mean? You're not underqualified, you're not irrelevant, you just need to reframe the skills that you currently have. And that's exactly what we're going to walk through. Now that we've grounded ourselves in the why this is so important, we're going to talk about the how. It's time to take inventory on what your transferable skills are, because reflection creates clarity. And when you have clarity, you can more easily and concisely define what your transferable skills are and what you're capable of next. In order to do this, we are going to look at the CORE format. And CORE is going to stand for communication, organization, resilience, and execution. We're going to walk through each one of these in more detail. And you can go ahead, take the notes out on your phone or your journal. But I've also put together a free guide for you to be able to download to help you walk through this exercise later on. But please still go ahead and listen to how we're going to do this. So when you fill out the worksheet later, if you haven't already downloaded it, you'll know exactly what to do. The first one is going to be communication. Don't just ask vague questions. Get specific. Where specifically did I use communication to drive alignment or impact? Did I present to executives? Did I facilitate team discussions? Was I the leader of a workshop? And the third part to that is, what were the results of that communication and what I did? If you have ever translated complex situations to your stakeholders, maybe taken very technical information and turned it into terms that they understood, handled high stakes conversations, or led with empathy in challenging times, these are all examples of you being an effective communicator. The second one is going to be organization. Do not generalize, but document. What systems, tools, or process did I create or manage? How did I bring order to chaos? What impact did my organizational strengths have on the outcome? If you have streamlined operations, implemented project management tracking systems, or kept multiple stakeholders on the same page, you have demonstrated leadership skills, not just logistics. The third one we're going to look at is resilience. Do not gloss over the tough stuff. We often find that people don't want to talk about the pain or the problems, but that pain, those problems that you ran into and still were able to succeed, that is all part of building resilience. And that is something that we need to be able to showcase. So, some questions that you can ask yourself for this one. When did I lead through a tough change? How did I navigate ambiguity, resistance, or even burnout? What did I learn in that process? Today's workforce demands emotional endurance. If you have survived layoffs, pivoted during market changes, or supported others through upheaval, you have already proven that you can lead under pressure. The fourth one is going to be execution. Do not skip the receipts. In other words, talk about what you have done. You have the proof. You've done these things. It's okay to brag about it. Questions you can ask yourself are, what did I deliver? What actions did I take that led to measurable outcomes? And where did I go above and beyond expectations? You see, execution is not about perfection. It's about ownership. Did you carry projects from conception all the way through delivery? Handle deadlines that felt uncomfortable or unachievable? Turn strategic ideas into operational wins. If you can complete this and even come up with 4 to 6 solid examples, you are already 90% ahead of job seekers. And here's the reason why. Most people skip this part. But when you can actually do the work of owning your brilliance, owning your experience, owning your skills, it honestly becomes impossible to ignore. Congratulations, you have identified your transferable superpowers. Now it's time to translate them. And this is honestly where a lot of high achieving professional women get stuck. This is so much more than rewriting your resume. It is putting it in a language that any industry can understand. It's not about reinventing something new. It's about taking what is already true about you and telling the story in a new dialect. So we're going to go through a couple of examples to help you really understand how we can look at translating these. Number one, I managed a customer service team. How do we reframe that? I managed a focus-led team that increased retention by 22%. Old way of saying it, I prepared monthly financial reports. New way of saying it, delivered financial insights that guided 1.2 million in strategic investments. And here's a third one. Old way of saying it, coordinated executives' calendars. New way of saying it, optimized executives' productivity through strategic calendar management. Do you see the difference? One simply says what you did, but the other states how you did it. And if you're thinking this sounds too fancy or maybe it's just too fluffy, no, you did these things and you need to be able to not only articulate them, but to own them. This is the difference between sounding qualified versus essential. So here's a pro tip for you. What I would like you to do is I would like you to find 3 to 5 job listings from your desired industry. And I want you to highlight repeated language. And with this repeated language, you are going to find words such as cross-functional alignment, strategic thinking, stakeholder engagement, and change management. Then reverse engineer the language into things that you've already done. And I call this a corporate translation because quite honestly, it's what you have already done. It's just using different words in different language. Pay attention to what I'm going to tell you. So if you've been multitasking, come back to me. We're going to talk about undervaluing language because there are oftentimes phrases that you see that means you are undervaluing your skills. Here are a couple examples for you. We just did what needed to be done. This is a perfect time for you to reframe it to highlight your leadership. I helped with. Instead, talk about your specific contribution to that project. It was a team effort. Absolutely, it was a team effort, but what specifically did you do in order to make it successful? It was just part of my job. No, it was a demonstration of your capabilities to execute properly and efficiently. I just put fires out all day. Honey, that is called crisis management. It is a 6-figure skill in the right context. The other thing that I want to be clear about when it comes to undervaluing language is that we see this in a lot of women, and it often shows itself as imposter syndrome. I know we talked about imposter syndrome in a previous episode, but when you undervalue yourself, you are putting the perception out there that you don't belong in the room. And I am here to tell you that you do. You need to showcase your skills, not downplay yourself. Here's the deal. It is not about what you did. It's about how clearly you speak the language of the outcomes. It is critical. We often see women that have imposter syndrome, and undervaluing yourself and your language is one of the key signs of imposter syndrome. When you shift your language, you shift the perception that others have of you. And I'm sure you've all heard the saying, perception is reality. So here's an example of that. If a healthcare job listing states patient-centered care coordination, and you've been managing complex client relationships and financial services, that is empathetic stakeholder management. The context changed, but the core skill stays the same. And here's why this matters. According to a recent Harvard Business School study, mid-career professionals that were able to effectively translate their experience using industry-specific language were 62% more likely to be called for interviews. This is how we get you unstuck. You already have the skill. What you need now is a way to articulate them with authority. Now it's time to create a narrative that can connect your past to your future and really make people feel the impact that you bring. Enter the SOAR method. This will help you craft concise, powerful messaging about what you've done. S stands for situation. What was the context? What was the challenge or opportunity that you were facing? O stands for obstacle. What was in the way? What specifically needed to change? A, what is the action that you took? What did you do specifically to help resolve the problem? And R, what were the results? What changed because of you? What was the measurable outcome? Here's an example for you. I joined a marketing team that was flatlining in campaign performance. The data was scattered. It was hard to access, making it nearly impossible to optimize. I developed a centralized dashboard, trained all of the team members on it, and implemented a weekly review cadence. Within 3 months, our campaign ROI increased by 28%, and decision-making time dropped by 40%. This is a complete and qualified, compelling story. It's ready for an interview, a resume bullet, or a networking conversation. Speaking of networking conversations, we are now going to be talking about your pivot pitch because it is your professional bridge. It connects where you've been, where you are now, to where you're going. It answers the unspoken question of why you, why now? Here's an example template that you can use. My career in enter your industry has centered on enter your core transferable skill. For example, enter a specific achievement. What I've realized is that this same skill creates significant value in enter new industry, where enter industry needs exist. I'm now applying that expertise to new direction because authentic reason for the shift. So here's an example of using that template. My 12 years of corporate finance have centered around translating complex data into strategic decision making. For example, I created a forecasting model that helped leadership reallocate $5 million towards higher performing channels. What I have realized is that this same analytical skill creates a huge value in the healthcare tech industry, where teams are overwhelmed with data but are still flying blind. I am now bringing that experience into health analytics because I am passionate about improving the outcomes through smarter systems. Okay, now that may not necessarily be your specific example, but what I'd like you to do is I would like you to actually take that template, translate it into your own, and then practice it. Practice it in front of the mirror, practice it in front of your dog, your spouse, your children, your neighbor, anyone who will listen. Practice it and get comfortable with it. Again, this is what will bridge where you have been to where you are going. And it will show your value along the way. Now it's time to talk about strategic skill gaps and quickly upskilling, because it is the elephant in the room. We have all looked at a job description and thought, I have a lot of these, but there are some skills on here I have no clue about. And really, let's be honest, those gaps do not mean that you're not qualified. It means that you are in the process of evolving and you are able to learn these skills. Maybe to give you a little bit of comfort here, Deloitte's Human Capital Trends report showed that 83% of new roles now require skills that did not exist 5 years ago. I'm going to say that again. So if you've been multitasking, come back to me because this is important. It's not only important for you to understand where you are and where you're going, but it's important for you to understand that you are evolving. The workplace is evolving. You're not underqualified. Deloitte's 2024 Human Capital Trends Report states that 83% of roles now require skills that did not even exist 5 years ago. So this is not a skill gap issue. This is not a talent deficit. It's a pace of change issue. So how do we look at identifying these critical skills that are needed and how to upskill you and quickly? Step one is going to be to spot the patterns. Review 8 to 10 potential job listings that you would be interested in. And then I want you to look at 3 columns: skills I already have, skills I can learn easily, and skills I would need to plan for in order to achieve. Look for patterns. If 7 out of 10 of the jobs that you're looking at require a specific skill and you don't have it, it may be a good idea for you to start planning how to get it. The second step is to learn smart, not hard. And what I mean by this is you do not need a second or third or fourth degree. You need strategic upskilling. There are some recommended platforms for this, and I'm not affiliated with any of them, but some of them are LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, Maven, Skillshare, and Guild Education. Regardless of where you decide to upskill, I highly recommend that you focus on high impact, high demand skills. Think AI literacy, virtual collaboration, and strategic storytelling. Step 3 is going to be to frame it as a power move. Don't frame it as I'm catching up. Frame it as I am staying ahead. Instead of saying I don't know it yet, so I'm learning it, say I am investing in this skill because I see where the industry is going and how it's beneficial for me to have it moving forward. Remember this: leadership is learning. And the woman that keeps learning, she is the one who becomes the go-to expert when the game changes. Now, we've talked about a lot, and so it's time to put all of this into action. It is your roadmap of how to take what we've talked about and really implement it into your daily life. But it's not going to happen overnight. And so what we're going to look at is really a 3-week plan. I'm going to give you some actions to take every single week that will build upon one another in order to get your transferable skills where they need to be, or a roadmap in order to get you there. Week 1 is going to be inventory and articulation. It is all about going from fuzzy to crystal clear on what skills you have and where you need to look at upskilling. So what I want you to do during week 1 is complete your core inventory. Aim for just 15 minutes to spend on this. You don't have to spend a whole lot of time, but at least you'll know where you stand. Then look at reframing 3 bullet points, whether it be on your LinkedIn profile or your resume or just how you talk about what you do in your daily job. By the end of week 1, you're not just listing skills. You are shaping a brand narrative rooted in measurable impact. This is where internal clarity meets external articulation. Week 2, visibility and practice. This is where you go from not only just knowing your story, but owning it publicly. Quite honestly, this is probably oftentimes the hardest emotional leap for women. Because here's the truth: confidence does not come before visibility. Confidence is built through repetition. You have to actually do the work, feel the steps, and then the confidence comes. So your week 2 goals are to post a SOAR story on LinkedIn. Publicly claim your value. Sis, you need to own this. No one else can do it for you. Record your pivot pitch. Normalize the new language. Normalize the new tone. Book 2 informal interviews. Put your skills into that conversation. Take them out for a test drive. See how it feels. And then start 1 focused learning course. Again, this does not have to be a second or third degree. This is just something small and close to the industry that you're already in. It's developing a skill that you may already have more in depth, or it could be a skill adjacent to the ones that you have now. If you wait to until you are 100% ready, I guarantee you, you will never start this. It's a psychological fact. You're never going to be 100% ready. So it's okay to start now and take these small steps. And then in week 3, it's all going to be about integration and momentum. This is where intention becomes habit. They say it takes 14 to 21 days for a habit to be formed and stick, whether it's good or bad. This is where your pivot becomes real. Finalize your resume with your new positioning. Apply to one stretch role, not 10, just one that really speaks to you. Join an industry group. This could be on LinkedIn, this could be on Facebook, but join a group that you could start contributing to the conversation. And then create your 90-day learning plan. Break it up into smaller chunks, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. What can you realistically complete in that time frame in order to enhance your skills? This week is about showing up for you, not just telling a story. Your actions align with your new direction, and that creates the consistency that recruiters, hiring managers, and your own mindset can trust. This is professional reinvention in motion. You are no longer describing your future. You are literally stepping into it. As we close today, I want you to remember your experiences are not just a list of what you've done. They are the story of who you are and where you are going. That story is not just valuable, it is transferable. If this resonated with you, please like, share, tag a friend, join the conversation. Let's stop playing small and show up screaming our brilliance. Until next time, stay fierce, stay bold, but most importantly, stay unapologetically you.